Hey there everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. Today I'm going to be bringing you my first deck profile for the Final Fantasy TCG, as the game seems to be exploding pretty heavily, at least within the UK. I know that you guys in the US haven't quite got it yet as of the filming of this video, but I hope you guys get it soon, because we need more players. There's quite a few deck ideas I've been throwing around since the inception of the game, including an Ice Water control deck, which I'm sure I'm going to be revisiting because it has Kuja in it, and if it's got Kuja in it, I'm going to be running it. A weirder brew that involves Golbez and Onion Knight, where Golbez is a 6-drop guy that, when he dies, searches for 4 different guys of 4 different elements of color of cost 2 or less. I'll get the word out in a minute. And you can have a 3-color deck. You might be encouraged to run 4, but I think that the Light Onion Knight can replace the 4th color, so that'll be an interesting thing. And I'm also trying to optimize an Earth-Fire deck that's quite easily adaptable from the Final Fantasy VII starter deck, so that you guys have a really good springboard to jump off of that's not too expensive to build. But today, the deck profile that I'm building you is a deck that I'm building for myself, and it's a Wind and Lightning deck. The main reason that I decided to go with Wind and Lightning is mainly so that I have an excuse to run Zidane, who I think is an exceptionally powerful card within this set, and he just happens to be my one of my favourite characters because he's from Final Fantasy IX, and that he's my main character from Dissidia back in the day, which, by the way, Square Enix, if you're listening to this, please hurry up and release the gorgeous arcade version that you've got going around over here, because we really, really want to play it. I believe that Lightning is one of the best secondary elements to Zidane, purely because it has a lot of cards that can destroy anything that could block him more easily than any of the other elements, and has very, very strong backups and forwards of its own, and Odin is like a staple with Lightning, and it does deal very, very quickly with anything that could get in Zidane's way, so that's why I decided to go with Lightning. This deck is more backup heavy than forward heavy, with a ratio of 22 forwards, 20 backups, and 8 summons. So let's get straight into the cards themselves then, shall we? As I said, Zidane is the backbone of this deck, therefore there are 3 copies of him present. He's untargetable by all of your opponent's summons and all of their guys' abilities, which makes him very, very difficult to get rid of, and he's also unblockable by anything that costs 4 or more, which makes him a kill condition in and of himself. However, his lack of power means that smaller guys are usually bigger than him, and on mass damage, like Barrett or Red 13's Cosmo Memory, can usually kill him, so the rest of the deck is to be designed to kind of counter that fact. Bartz is in the deck for 2 reasons. He's in the deck because he's a 9k guy, which makes him one of the stronger guys in the deck, and his ability is actually very, very strong. He activates all wind characters you control, and that's not restricted to backups or forwards, that's all of them. And it's also an EX burst, so if you get that off of your damage, then you can suddenly block with a load of guys you couldn't before, and there's a lot of tap to deal damage effects in this deck, which makes him more relevant later as you see cards that come through. There's a one of Ishtola in the deck, which I think is designed just to deal a little bit of damage, like chip damage, and have a decently cheap guy. But the trouble with a lot of the wind characters is that they're quite under the curve when it comes to their power in relation to their cost. So you don't want to be playing too many of these guys at once. Don't play a Zidane and then an Ishtola and then the Yuffie that I'm also playing all at once, because they'll end up dead if you're not very careful. Speaking of the Yuffie, there's 2 of them in here. I'm playing 3 of the hero version of Yuffie because she's a slightly bigger version of Zidane that's targetable, but she also has an S ability that allows her to deal damage across the board if you want her to, or concentrate all on one guy. And this synergizes very well with a lot of the other cards in the deck, so I felt that she was very, very relevant in this deck. I'm also playing a one-off copy of the common one because she's a slightly quicker version of Zidane, where she can start chipping at your opponent's health quicker because she's unblockable by anything that costs 3 or more, not 4 or more. I'm playing 3 copies of Aerith, 2 of the rare one and 1 of the common one, and the reason I'm not playing 3 of the rare one is because I felt that having the extra 2-drop backup was worth having. That said, Rare Aerith I think is one of the top 5 best cards in the set. It's so powerful, but she comes down for basically free if you've had 3 backups already, and let's face it, you're not going to want to play her if you don't have 3 backups already, unless you're desperate. And she's got an ability that stops all of your guys getting targeted, which gives all of them the same thing that Zidane has, and that's a thing worth noting. I'm also playing 3 copies of Archer, which I'm not certain as to whether I'm going to play 3 or 2 and increase something else in this deck, but at the moment Archer just seems like a solid pick, because he's one of 3 cards in the set that can eliminate backups. And with cards like Minwoo rolling around, you need to get rid of that card as soon as possible. I probably am going to keep 3 Archer in this deck purely for that card, because it shuts this deck down hard. I'm playing a one-off copy of Maria, because not only does she boost every forward that I control, she also boosts Zidane out of the range of being insta-killed by a lot of effects. There's a lot of things that deal 3,000 damage, and specifically 3,000 to all of your guys. Like, the Valefor from the starter deck is one of them, Barrett is another. There's quite a lot of them, and, you know, just boosting him that extra 1,000 actually lets him dodge a lot of abilities. I'm playing 2 Dancer because I think that Dancer is actually very, very good and synergizes very well with a lot of Lightning cards, as you'll see as we get to the Lightning cards. And she's just very, very strong. She kind of acts in a similar way to how Maria does because of the way combat works. By having her on the board untapped, your opponent can't safely attack with a guy that's 1,000 over your guys without trading theirs for yours, because you can deal them the 1,000 damage and then block with one of your guys to finish the job. In terms of summons, I really, really don't like Alexander in this deck. However, I think he's necessary because there are cards like Sephiroth and Kuja that need to be dealt with the second they hit the field. Yes, Zidane can get under them, but that's why there's only one of them. If Zidane weren't in the deck and the deck weren't based around him, I'd actually run 2. And I normally really, really love Ultra Rare Valefor or Legendary Valefor, and because I think the ability to bounce everything to its owner's hand at instant speed is a very powerful effect. However, in testing, I found that 1 is actually better, because if you run too many of the summons, you end up with them clogged in your hand, and you need guys to be able to actually finish the game. Summons only delay, or Valefor in particular, only delays things for a turn. Yes, he saves you, and in certain situations, he punishes your opponent for overextending like a boss, but I still think that 1 is the right number for now. Moving on to the Lightning cards now, we're playing 4 different copies of Lightning. Mainly because I only own 2 of the legendary one. If I had 3, I would run her, but oh Lightning, she's so good. She's just so good. And she does literally everything that Zidane needs her to do. She is the perfect partner to him. Anything that Zidane could be blocked by, Lightning can kill by searching for a kill spell that deals with exactly the things that beat Zidane. And then if you have an extra copy of Lightning, she can then finish the job and kill something else that could do it, or something that's threatening your board. She's just, and you can't miss her when you're playing any Lightning deck, let alone this one. She just fits him so well. Not only that, but the other common Lightning actually fits the deck very, very well. Yes, she's slightly weaker again, but the ability to tap one of the guys that your opponent has that could block Zidane or Yuffie and just quickly smash a bit of damage in can win you the game. It's quite simple. You know, you don't really want to play this Lightning because you'd rather play the bigger one, but if you don't have her, this one's pretty good still. Ramza is a card that actually kind of slipped under my radar until I tried testing him out. He's actually really, really good. He's basically a 6th backup. Bear in mind you can only have a maximum of 5 out at any given time. Ramza kind of acts like the 6th one. Because you can untap a land, he's kind of like the equivalent to a mana dork from Magic, like Birds of Paradise or anything like that, where you can kind of, you know, dull him in order to gain a crystal point. And that extra 1 comes in very handy very quickly. You can also use him to untap a lot of your more, you know, relevant backups like Dancer to deal that extra 1,000, so now your opponent's guys have to be 2k bigger than yours. The synergy with him and a lot of the wind backups is really good. I'm playing a copy of Orlandeau because I don't want to face a mirror match. A lot of my guys might be smaller than Zidane, but I'd rather just deal with him outright. So this is more of a call for future reference to see if anyone else starts playing Zidane, because Orlandeau single-handedly murders him unless he's been boosted elsewhere. He also has a lot of synergy with Dancer in the sense that if you use Dancer and then him, he kills a lot of 4k guys. Tifa, the hasty Tifa being a very good example of this. So definitely bear Orlandeau in mind when you're playing these decks. I'm playing 2 of the Onion Knight, and I did experiment with all of the Onion Knights as like a toolboxy thing, but in testing I found that this one is actually the strongest one. And the only reason it's that strong is because it has really good synergy with both Y'shtola and Dancer. He can pretty much kill anything your opponent has just by entering the field, and any kind of plus that you get from a Final Fantasy TCG is a massive bonus to you. You know, the reason that I think Moogle is one of the best cards in the game is because it's a 2 for 2. You don't even get much out of it because you have to use it, draw 2, then drop 1. You just deck thin. So if you're getting a plus out of this game, you're getting a hell of a lot for it. Cat Sith is in the deck pretty much for the same reason that Lightning is, because I think that you can just kind of steal your opponent's game just by going, oh, by the way, your guy's tapped, I'm going to swing for game. He's so cheap and so easy costed that he kind of just fits. Though I'm toying between him and the First Strike Dragoon, because I'm not sure which of the two is better yet, but I wanted to keep the costs lower where possible. In terms of backups, I've decided to go with 2 Red Mage, because I think he's really good, and giving any unblockable guy haste is pretty beneficial. You know, you've also got other guys like Bartz and Yuffie, who's obviously unblockable. Orlandeau as well, it's a cheaper version of giving him haste, so that's there's a lot to bear in mind with Red Mage. He actually buffs quite a lot of things. Black Mage is in the deck because of its absolutely incredible synergy with both Y'shtola and Dancer. He kills any damaged forward. So if Dancer deals 1,000 damage to all of your opponents forward, he can kill anything, just whenever he wants, and that's very, very strong. Magus is in the deck because it also helps the damage, and Magus can kill pretty much anything that could block Zidane, short of the 3-drop 7k guys like Lan or Delator. No, Delator's a 3-drop 9k guy, ignore me. But there's a lot of things that Magus can deal with, and anything that Magus can't deal with, Seymour can. Seymour just outright murders anything, but I decided to only go with one of him because I felt that I was playing too many heavy-costed backups as it was, so I didn't want to make it any higher. And the reason for that is because I'm running 3 copies of Hero Lulu. Yes, she's 5 cost, but my god, this character is good. Like, really, really good. You know, having a backup that can just insta-kill one of your opponent's guys on tap is very powerful, and it fits this deck perfectly. So I even wanted to put in the common Lulu, or the uncommon Lulu, who isn't nearly as powerful, but just so that I had another card to discard for her. But I couldn't find room for her. There's too many good Lightning and Wind backups. And the last one I wanted to do is run 1 Sage. I'd actually really like to up this to 2, but I'm already struggling for room as it is, because this card can just pick up any guy that you've got. Yeah, I've just discarded a Lightning to pay for the legendary Lightning. I'm just going to grab it again and do it again. Seems really good, and you can't really ignore that. The summon suite I have for Lightning is pretty ordinary. It's 2 4-drop Odin, 1 7-drop Odin, purely for the EX burst, because I actually don't think that this Odin is all that great. But having the choice and the malleability, I might change it to 3 of the 4-drop Odin, but there'll be 3 Odins in there one way or another. And then 3 copies of Ramuh, because he kills cheap guys, which is exactly what I need to do. And then lastly, I'm running 1 Sephiroth for Dark, purely because he can kill backups, and the second he hits the board, he is a dominant force that has to be dealt with, particularly if you have Maria out. Having a 9k first strike guy out is practically impossible to deal with if you're on a back foot, and Sephiroth puts you on a back foot by getting rid of one of your backups. So I felt that he fit this deck as the best kind of dark character, though he may end up being a bit too overcosted for the deck. But with the amount that I have that untaps my guys through Bartz, through Ramza, through Aerith, it seemed like it was a good fit because it mitigated the costs that Sephiroth asks for. And similarly, I'm running a Chaos purely because I'm running more than 1 colour, and Chaos just kind of fits anything that does that. It's just a good card, and if you're running 2 colour or more, you literally have no reason to not run either Chaos or Cosmos, so he just kind of fits. I want to take this moment just to kind of point out that I'm fairly new to this game as much as you guys are, so I am well aware that I may not be on the mark for everything that I've put on here. If you guys have any suggestions for things that I could do differently, then I'd love to hear from you. Say something in the comments below and just let me know what cards you think could be changed, things if you've tried this deck for yourself, because I encourage you to do that. As this isn't just an ownership thing. I want you guys to experiment with these decks and kind of get a bit of a rapport going, and then we build something out of it, and it'd be really cool to make a community thing. And then, you can see the strategy of the deck, basically. You can see that Zidane and the unblockable guys are the backbone of the deck, and then everything else is kind of designed to be either big enough that they have to be dealt with, or small, or they kind of deal with anything small enough that could deal with the unblockable guys. So the point of it is just constant pressure, constant pressure. It's kind of a mid-range tempo-y deck. It's not quite control and it's not quite aggro. I'd say I would call this a tempo deck because it's just something that you're constantly applying pressure with. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and check out all the other videos that I've done on the Final Fantasy TCG. I've made a relatively educated guess as to what I think the good cards in this set are, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. I give a shout out to 6 Sages Gaming again. They've done an amazing database online, which is FFTCG Mognet, so definitely check that out if you're wanting to build decks. I did when I built this, and just go and play the game. Build this deck. build something else, if you want to try something, if you have any suggestions for videos you'd like to see from me, then let me know in the comments below, and I'd just love to hear from you guys. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll speak to you guys later. Bye now.